This lesson will take you through all the important concepts about automating Excel with Microsoft Power Automate. We will use some data for the lesson, and you can find those ones at the course page. The link to the course page is in the description below. So scroll down to the description and then click download the Excel book with sample data. This will take you to my OneDrive. Now click the three dots here and then click download. I will place this on my desktop initially, so I'll drag it out here. And make sure you do this exercise with me, please. So download the data and start up Power Automate in a little while. This will be very easy and you'll be learning 10 times faster when you do the operations with me. So first of all, I want to automate the January sheet. Here I have a table, and this is the first important concepts of Power Automate. The data needs to be formatted as a table in Excel. So if I go up here, I can see table design, and this table is named January. Similarly, I can go to May, click the table, click table design, and this table is called May. This is something I have done. So, if you want to do these things, you just need to mark your range if you have some data that you want, and then you can press Ctrl-T in the desktop version or Home, format as a table. I've formatted everything as a table here, so you don't need to do it, but in case you have some other data, that is what you want to do. Very important. Here, I want to take each row, and each row is a record of sold fruit. You can see ID 1, that's apple, ID 2, orange, ID 3, banana. I have some sales numbers from 2 stores, that is in US dollars. So in US dollars, we sold for $15,000 US in the first store of apples, and then in the second store, we sold for $35,000. We want to calculate the total sales, which is sales store 1 plus sales store 2. Similarly, the profit is simply just the total sales minus cost. The estimated yearly profit, that is profit times 12. We want to do it for each row. So very basic automation with Power Automate. We'll start here, introduce all the important concepts. Then we will go advanced, because we will expand our solution so we can loop through multiple Excel sheets, as you see here. And then we will introduce Office scripts. You can see Office scripts as VBA on steroids. And here the data, we don't need to format it as a table, and we can create some very advanced stuff. Make sure you watch this video from start to the end. I will promise you, you will have learned everything when this video ends. Then first we will start with the January. So let's just close this one here. We need to place this Excel book in a OneDrive, SharePoint, Dropbox, or a Box drive. That is because Power Automate needs to grab it, so it needs to be accessible for the cloud. I prefer OneDrive, but you can go with any of these solutions. So this is my OneDrive route. Here I have created a subfolder called Live. I will just be dragging in my book to that. You can place yours wherever you want. It just have to be in the OneDrive or similar. So I'll also be closing down this download here, so we have a bit more room. I will maximize it. Now let's go to Power Automate. So I'll open it here. I'll go over and click Create. I'll choose an instant cloud flow, but of course these Excel activities will work with any of the flow types. We can schedule a flow, we can make a trigger, so every time we receive an email, this flow will run. So choose instant cloud flow. And here we will give our flow a name. I'll just call mine Excel and choose manually trigger a flow, then click Create. Let's first grab the data from Excel, and we can just open it here. So if I click it in OneDrive, it will open up in Excel. It's just so we can inspect it while we create our flow. Now click New Step. And here you want to go with a list rows present in a table. I'll choose the one from Excel Online Business. You can see here Excel Online Business, list row present in a table. But if you have a private or school account, you will go with this one here. You most likely have the business. So if you're here and you don't know which one of these you have, you could try with this first. If this doesn't work, you just choose the one here. Those ones are the same activities. But I'll choose the business. The location, that will be OneDrive for Business. So I click this dropdown and choose OneDrive for Business. Document library, that is OneDrive. So click this one here and pick OneDrive. Now we will simply just find the file in my OneDrive. So I click this here. I find my subfolder where I placed the book in. So I click this arrow and choose the Excel book, which is called Fruit Job Data. Now, when I click this drop down, I will see all the tables that are accessible, one for each month. Those ones are the tables that I created. If you want to grab data from another sheet, make sure that they are formatted as a table. I repeat myself a couple of times in this video, and that is to make sure you learn the important parts. So now we will find January, and we'll get that. Try to click Save. Let's just run it to see that we can actually get the data. I click Test manually, then I'll click Test. Here you will be prompted if you're not signed in to Excel Online. I am, so I'll just be clicking Continue and Run Flow, and it will run in like 0 seconds, as you see here. Now go click it. We will inspect the outputs. So in Outputs, click to Download. And this is the data that we get back and can work with. This is in a JSON format. JSON is a very efficient way to transfer data. You can recognize a JSON by these curly brackets in the start and in the end. And in here we have our data. You can see ID 2, fruit, orange, sales store 1. We have all the data here. These are key value pairs. So you can see up here status code 200. 200 is a success that we can actually grab the information. If the status code was 404, there was no record named this one here that we tried to get, the January table, but we don't have to worry about that. What we will do is to mark everything and then Control-C to copy it. Then we go to codebeautify.org/JSON Viewer. This is a nice place if we want to see how the data actually looks like and just not like this wall of data. So if I go here and then press Control-V, you can see the JSON over here. It's formatted nice here. The root, that is the object. And here we have the headers. And here we have a lot of general information. And down here in the body, we have the data that we want to grab. So we have in the body, we have the value. And then we have 3 items. Item 0, that is 1 apple. Item 2, that is 2 orange. Item 3, that is banana with the ID 3. So here we have our data. You can even see the sales store, blah, blah, blah. You can also see the total sales blank. That makes perfectly sense because that is what we are trying to get. So this is the overview. And now we want to iterate through each one of these values here. So I go back to Power Automate. Then I'll click Edit. What we will get here is an apply to each. An apply to each is doing exactly what we want. It iterates through a collection from start to finish. So it will take the first row that we get up here, then it will take the second row, the third row, and so forth. So find the apply to each. What you will be getting here, you will need the output here. And here we will be getting the value here. So, and that is, again, let me go to the JSON. That is because of this value. Here we have our items in. So we're simply just saying, iterate through everything that is in the value. That is these 3 items. And then we want to do something. We want to calculate the total sales. So I go in here. Then I'll add an action. Make sure you are in the apply to each. So here I'll say update a row in the Excel Online for Business. Again, I'll need to fill the things. So I'll just be doing exactly like before. Take it easy. This is, it's straightforward. You will learn some advanced techniques. Those ones are good to remember, and maybe you can rewind the video and do them over. But these ones here, that just explain themselves. Here I'll find the January. Now, and when I pick that table, you can see that here we have the different headers. So we have ID, fruit, sales store 1, 2, the total sales. That is what we are trying to calculate. And afterwards, the profit and the estimated yearly profit. The key column, that is how we can map our data, because we're going to update a row. So we're going to say, look at the ID when we try to update a row, and what should we be putting in? Well, let me show you the JSON again. We want to say, First, we want to look for the ID 1, then ID 2, because those ones were unique value that actually identified the current row. So I'll go in here, and then in the key value, I will be going onto the list rows present in the table and pick the ID. That's it. Now we will go down to total sales. We want to be having whatever is in the sales store 1 plus sales store 2, we will write that to the total sales. The easier thing, we could write out the expression. We will cheat a bit. You can always do this, and I recommend you to do it. So just take in the dynamic content. If this menu doesn't show up, you'll just need to click here, choose the sales store 1. If I hover my mouse over, this is the expression for the sales store 1. That is items, apply to each, and that is this one from up here. And then we'll say, look in the sales store 1. And again, we can take this out. We can cheat a little bit more. It's not cheating. It's simply just the approach that I'll recommend you to do, because we are going to write some expressions. Now you're saying, why do I need to write these expressions? Because this is key to understanding Power Automate, and especially these Excel automations. So please do it. They're very easy, straightforward. Just do everything with me. So click these 3 dots here, then click Peak Code. Now we will scroll a little bit down. Here you can see that under item / total sales, we will be grabbing this expression here. This is the exact same expression that we had before when we hovered our mouse over. So copy everything from the I to the last hard bracket and click Done. Now we will delete this. So we're going to we will create the expression, and here I will recognize we can create it over here, and we will do it. But because this is so small, and because we're going to get the data later on, but sometimes they can also disappear in Power Automate, what I recommend you to do, go down to your Start menu and find your Notepad, click Enter, and mine was over here on the other screen. There you go. So now we will be making this expression here in the Notepad. So what do I want to do? I want to do an addition. But first, we'll need to, and we'll add the sales store 1 to sales store 2. So the expression for sales store 1, so sales store 1, and we'll need to convert that to a number. But first, I'll just Control V, paste it in here. Then I'll say sales store 1, and then as a number. And we can have numbers in 2 formats. We can have it as a float, that is decimal numbers, or an integer, that is whole numbers. Since we have decimals here, we will choose it as a float. So here I'll just say sales store 1 as a float. So to convert this expression to a float, I will say float, parentheses start and end. And inside the parentheses, I will convert this one here. This is the text to convert. So now I have the sales store 1 as a float. Similarly, it will be the exact same approach for the sales store 2. So I just copy it, change the 1 to 2, and have it like this. Now I can add these 2 things because they are floats, and those ones are numbers with decimals. So here I can say sales store 1 plus sales store 2, and that is, by the way, equal to total sales, what we're trying to get. Here I'll have the add, and then I'll have the first item here. So I Control C, I paste it in here. Then I'll have a comma, and then I'll have my second item. This is this one here, right here. So as you can see, those ones are quite long expression, and I really recommend you to do these things because you'll understand them 10 times faster as well here in the Notepad. And even for me, let me just make sure I am on the end and move down a few lines. Even for me, these ones can be very long, and having them in here, they can be very hard to actually see what's going on. Here, it's also nice to have it in a clipboard, because when I click OK here, sometimes it says that it's invalid. I can just click OK because it's not. I click OK again, it's added over here. And here, sometimes they also disappear here, but now we have it. Make sure you hover your mouse over and see that you have both the sales store 1 and sales store 2. If you don't, you just delete this expression, click the expression again, and then Control V it in again. Now we have the total sales. Let's try to save it and see that we can actually calculate the total sales column. And then the rest, that is the profit and the estimated yearly profit, is just piece of cake. And here you will see that our flow ran successfully. And let's try to go to the fruit shop data. There you go. We have now made all the calculations for the total sales. This would have worked if we had 100 rows as well. Now it's the profit. And again, we will do it in our Notepad. And this is a good way to understand it. It's not to annoy you, but I really recommend you to do it here. Then you also have it, when you've done this video with me, you can save this Notepad and you will have it for future reference. Now we will have the next one, and that is the profit. So profit, and let me have it in the parentheses, that is sales minus cost. So we already have the total sales, and let me just do this. So we already had the total sales, and then we just need to find out an expression for the cost. And we actually have it up here because we can grab it the same way as we get the sales store 1, because this is just the sales store 1. We grab that here, and the cost is actually entirely the same. So we can just grab it like it up here. Let me make a new line and grab the cost. So what I will do is simply just take the sales store 1 as float. I'll go in here. I'll call this cost as float, and I'll just be switching the sales store 1 with cost. Now to subtract two things from each other, I'll use the sub function, parentheses starting in the end. And here I will have item, the first thing that I want to, the base thing, and that is that's the total sales. We have it up here, so copy it. Now go down inside the parentheses, paste it in. Then you will have a comma, and then you'll define what do you want to subtract this number with. Well, that is the cost. We have that here. You can see it's very easy to create these expressions when we just take it bit by bit in a Notepad and then just have good namings on top of it. And now here you can see that I'll just do this. So we have the expression just below. Make sure you take everything. So Control C, go back to Power Automate, click Edit. So now we will go down to the profit, and here we will go into the expression. Now you just put in Control V because we already made the expression. Then you'll click OK. It's not invalid, but so click one more. There you go. So a very long expression. It's not very complicated when you take it bit by bit. So again, rewind the video if things went too fast. The video is designed for that. Now we will try to run again and see if we're actually able to update the profit column. If I go over here, you can see that the profit is already made. So the estimated yearly profit, that is simply just this profit times 12. So let me go back here and click Edit. So now we want to make an expression for this. And what we will do here is that make sure we jump to the end, make a new line. So estimated yearly profit, that is just 12 times the profit. And here we can just use the mul, that is the mul function, the multiply, so parentheses starting in the end. The first one, that is 12, then we will have a comma, and then we will take this entire expression for profit. So copy everything, move it down here after the comma, Control V to paste it in. What we just need to do now is simply just to copy it here. So right now we're creating this Notepad, and I can just save it to my desktop or anywhere else I wanted it, so I have it as a future reference. We will also be using it later in this video. Anyway, I go down to estimated yearly profit, go down to expression, Control V in, OK. It's not invalid, so I do it the second time. Now we have it. Here I'll click Save. And this invalid thing is just a bug in Power Automate. Don't worry about that. Now I'll run the flow again. Again, it will take like 10-15 seconds. And then we have ran it. And if I go to fruit shop data, here we have it. This is just this number times 12. So fairly easy. And this approach will of course work if we point it to the February, March, April, May. We will need to add some more advanced concepts, but first we will see a couple of things. We can add rows to a table. So if we wanted to add a row into this table, I'll go back to Power Automate and then I'll click Edit. I can collapse things by just clicking on the actions like this and this. Try to go after the list rows present in the table. Click this plus, click Add an Action. Here you will find add a row into a table. Pick that one here from your Excel Online from Business or Excel Online OneDrive if that's what you're using. So here I'll find the location, OneDrive for Business, the document library, OneDrive, you know the drill. Go into the live, find the fruit shop data, pick the January table. So here we get all the things, and here I'll say ID 4, we will add a complete new row, watermelon, sales store 1, 1200, sales store 2, 1000, and then we'll say cost of 600. Now I'll click Save. And what do you think will happen here? Do you think we will actually make the calculations on the new row or not? Please make your guess while this flow is running. And my flow ran successfully. And if you made your guess, let me go here, you can see that we don't calculate the total sales, the profit, or the estimated yearly profit. Why is that? That is because we chose to place this one after the list rows present in the table. So we are getting the rows that we want to work with. Then we add a row, and because this applies to each, it looks in this value that we got up here. This one will get ignored. So if I wanted to do it, I can click Edit, and then I can grab this one here with the mouse and drag it up before the list rows present in the table. Then it will we will add a row into the table first, and then we will list the rows in the table. Let me also go here and then just mark this, right click over here in the margin, delete rows. So we can just see it gets added again, and we do the calculations. So I'll click Save. Now try to test it, run the flow. So here we are running it again. It will take some seconds, and then you can see we actually already added it in here. We listed the rows and our flow ran successfully. If I go over here, now you can see that the watermelon also gets calculated. That is the total sales, the profit, and the estimated yearly profit. We can also choose to, right now we are taking we list the rows present in the table, that is all 4, but we can also do some filtering. Let's say that we only wanted to work with 1 or 2 based on filters. That could be that we only want to look at fruits where the sales were bigger than 11,000, fruits that ended with an E, or whatever filter we could choose. We can do it in 2 ways. We can do ODATA filtering. This is the simple approach. It has the advantage that it's simple, but again, that's also the disadvantage. I'll show you that first, and then I will show you some very nice stuff afterwards. We don't want to add more rows into the table. So let's start by clicking the 3 dots and then delete this. I'll click OK. So open up the list rows present in the table. Take Show Advanced Options. Up here in Filter Query, we can do a filter. Here you can do OData queries, but it's limited to equals to, not equal to, contains, starts with, or ends with. Can't do multiple filters either. So what we can do is that we can say we want to only get the ID equal to. That will be the fruit with the ID equal to. So when I click Save, and then I can test run it like this. So now we are running it, and if I just click up here, of course it will do the calculation and then just override what we had before. If I click up here and go to outputs, you will see that we only have this ID fruit orange. So that is because we said we only want the ID equals to. And similarly, let's say that I want to have only the fruit that ends with an E. Then I'll use the ends with, and if you want to look these things up, you can just go to ODATA, to the Google, and you can find all the methods there. But really, I want to show you some more advanced stuff in 2 seconds. Now I'm getting all the fruits that's ending with an E, and actually the column header is fruit, so we'll need to make the exact same spelling. And here you don't have the intelligence or anything, you'll just need to manually make sure that you write the right things. So if I go into the list rows present in the table, again I click the outputs, and this one loads. Here it is. And here you can see we have the ID 1, that is the apple. That is because this one ends with an E. And similarly, we have the ID 2, orange, that is also ending with an E. So that's what we're doing here. Let me clean a bit up, clean these JSONs up. And let me show you the more advanced way to do this. So I'll click edit here. Let's delete this filter. Because what you want to do, when you want to go a little bit more advanced, when you want to do filtering where you can customize it just as you want, we will say this output that comes from here, that is the value. That is actually the one that we're using down here. That is the output from here. So what if we did a filtering between the list rows and before the apply to each? So click this plus here, add an action. What you want to find here is a filter array. So what do I want to filter? I want to filter the value. And here, please go into the advanced mode. It's very hard to write in here. So what I recommend you to do is to write your queries again in a Notepad, and then we will just copy paste them in here. So let me go here. So I want to find an expression, and now let me just move a little bit here. So I want to say, I want to find get rows where sales store 1 is bigger than 11,000. And if we look at the data, you can see that will get us row ID 1 and ID 2. That is where the sales store is bigger than 11,000. Here's 10,500, here's 1,200. We will not be retrieving those. So the expression here, then these queries always starts with an at, and then we'll say greater, and parentheses start and end the end. Then we'll have a comma. Before the comma, we will have the value that we'll look at, and then we will have the actual value that we're comparing to, in our case 11,000. So the value that is sales store 1, I'll add on 1 up here. So where do we find an expression for this in a float format? We have it up here. So the only thing you need to do is just to go up here, and then we will use some of it. Since we are comparing it to the actual apply to each, we will just delete this apply to each. It will look like this. But I can Control C, paste it in here. What you want to do here is to delete this S on the item, and then you will also delete everything that's in here, like this. So this is the expression that we are comparing to, and in our array. So that is all the array values. So we're saying that look at the sales store 1 value, and then we will take the 11,000 and move it after this comma. So now we have a filter. So we copy it over and we paste it in here. Now click Save. And if we want to use it here in our apply to each, then what we will do here, it will not save it into the value. This will save it into the output of this filter array. So what you will be using is to delete this value, and then you will use from the filter array, you will use the body like this. And again, so this one will apply the filter, and then we saw that we only got 2 rows back, and here we will only be updating 2 rows. Again, it will just overwrite the data, but it's fine for now. So, and if I go into my filter array, now it runs. Then we can see we get the ID 1 apple, and the ID 2 orange as expected. So this is a nice way to filter our data. It's much better than doing it up here in the list rows present in the table. This might be easier, but get your head around this. This is just so much nicer. So here we can also do a less instead of greater, or we can start combining these things. And here what I want to do is to make an AND operator, and then I can say, give me the rows where the sales store 1 is bigger than 11,000 that we had here, and then where the sales store 2 is bigger than 20,000 as well. That will only give us row 1. It will look like this. So let me say get rows where sales store 1 is bigger than 11,000 and sales store 2 bigger than 20,000. So here we will use the AND operator. So I'll just say AND. And here in here I will have the things that I want to be having inside the AND operator. So the first expression, I have it up here. So I just copy everything, not the add. Control C, paste it in here. Since the second part of the expression is very much similar, I will just, after the comma, I'll just Control V, then I'll fix this to 2. And this was 20,000, sorry. So I'll do this. And then I can just copy this entire expression here. And again, simply just pause the video, rewind it if things goes too fast. I really want you to do everything with me here. You'll learn so much faster. So then I go up here. And now I will delete this and Control V, paste it in here. So now we got more strict. We will only be retrieving one row. We know that based on what we are trying to do here. So, and now you can see if I go into the filter array, that is the interesting part. Here we only have row number 1. Similarly, I can edit it again. Let's go to my Notepad. Let me copy this because now I want to change things a bit. I want to say get rows where sales store 1 is bigger than 11,000, and then I want the OR operator. That means that only one of these has to be true. And instead of AND, I will just change this to OR, and it will look like this. So let's try to copy this expression here, paste it in here. Now click Save and test run it again. So here we are filtering our data. If I go to filter array, now you'll see that we get 1, ID 2, ID 3. Is that right? Let's go here. And that is right, because here both of them are true. We only needed one of them to be true. And here only sales store 1 is true, so we also get this. And here in banana, while sales store 1 wasn't true, it's still less than 11,000. The sales store 2 is definitely bigger than 20,000, so we also got that. Now we got all 3. This is how you do advanced filtering on your data from Excel. Let me click Edit. And here, let's change this one back to the value. So we can just let this filter be, or you can delete it if you want. It's not really doing anything right now in this automation. But if you want to keep it, you can just have it here. As I said, it will just filter the array, and then we will not use the output for everything. Now let's try to do a lookup like you'll do in Excel. So let me collapse all these things here. So we want to do a simple lookup, and that will be based on a value. Let's create a variable for this, because this data could come from some sort of another system where we get the actual data that we want to look up in Excel. So I click New Step, then I'll say Initialize Variable. Initialize, if I could spell, it's here. So it will be of the type string. The variable name, that could be row lookup. And then I want to, what this is that I want to look up an ID. That could be the value 2. So here I'll say New Step, then I'll find get a row, and I'll choose the one under Excel Online Business because that's where I want to work. So the location, that is OneDrive for Business. Then the document library is OneDrive. The file, again, you know the drill. Live, the arrow, the Excel book. The table, that is January. The key column. And here the key column, that will be ID. And the key value, that is from this initialize variable. So I just click here, and then under variables, I'll choose the row lookup. Now let me try to get this. And let's try to test it. You will see that we are able to retrieve one of these rows with the ID 2. So now my flow is running. And if I go to the getter row, scroll a little bit down, I can under the outputs, I can now see I have it here. I can also find it in the body here. But this is the data that I want to work with. But what will happen if I click edit here? And then I'll do initialize variable of 12. This ID doesn't exist. So now our flow will fail. And we will try to counter for that. So we will be making an expression. And here you can see no row was found with ID 12. Well, that is pretty much true. So, and let me again go up here to the list rows present in the table. I'll look at the output. So this is what we're trying to work with. This is the data that we get from Excel. And here you can clearly see that an ID with 12 doesn't exist. Let me just copy this one over again to the JSON beautifier. So now we get one more item. We can see that we have 4 ones here. So what we're trying to do now is that we're actually trying to see if the ID 2, if that's the one we're trying to find, is that present in this JSON? If yes, we can do the lookup. Otherwise, we will not. Let's try to do that first, and then we'll create a dynamic solution based on what's actually in the variable. So let me just have a success first. That will be the value 2 that we're trying to look up. We will make it work with the error handling as well. So after the initialize variable, add an action. Here you will find a condition like this. So the condition, here we will ask a question. And so this one here, the left side, that will be, does this list rows present in the table, does that contains the ID equal to? So again, I will go to my Notepad, and here I'll make the expression. So right now I will say that does my list rows present in a table contains ID 2. And actually, let us just see what it's actually. We're actually going to look this one up here. So just to be very strict, does this contain this one here? So, and here we will say we will use the contains function like this. And here we will simply just say where do we want to look? Well, we want to look in the body of the list rows present in the table, and then we'll convert it to a string. So I'll convert it to a string. It will look like this. And we will have the expression inside these parentheses afterwards. And then we will say comma, and then we want to say what do we want to look for? I'll just write what do we want to look for. We will replace this, but this is a nice placeholder so we can actually see what's going on. Now we will go in here, because now we will, to get whatever is up in the list rows present in a table, we will say the body, then a parentheses more, and in here we will have the name of the action. And this one is list, and then it will be inside the 2 single quotation marks. It will be list row underscore. If it is a blank, we will have the underscore. So list rows present in a table. So this is where we're going to look. We convert it into a string. What do we look for? Well, we look for this very expression up here, and afterwards we will look for our variable. But because we want to do it step by step, we'll do it like this. It has to be in single quotation marks. So do that and then paste in your ID 2. So this is what we're trying to look for. So I will just copy this expression now. I'll go up here, go to expression, paste it in, click OK. And again, you'll just need to do it twice. You can see it over here. If this is equal to, this can either be true or false. It contains, says, does this exist in this string? Yes or no, or true or false. So if this is true, we want to do our lookup. And let me just do this save here. And let's try to run it. We expect it to be true now because we are looking for ID 2, and we know that one is up in the list rows present in a table. So we will just be checking that we have done this right. So if I go into the condition, here you can see that it's actually true. And that is because we're looking for the ID 2. And then we are able to get this. If we similarly had made the ID equal 12, this would have been false, and we have done nothing. So the last part of this error handling, and I really hope that you try to understand this, you will become a very advanced Power Automate developer. Now I just want to, into this expression, I'll just want to use my variable. So here I will be, and let's just move to the Notepad again. So here, does my list rows present in a table contains, and now I want to say, does this contains, and then it will be ID, and then it will not be this 2, it will be our, it will be this one here, and then it will be our variable called row lookup, and now I'll just write it in human language, so plus this, and then plus another one. So this is what we're trying to look for, and we can of course do a lot of things here. But first, let's try to make the expression for this ID, and then our variable, and then this. So the last part of this. So this is what we're trying to look for. And again, I will just be doing this, what we look for. And this is with our variable, like this. So what do we look for? Well, oh, it got down here. So what do we look for? Well, we need to look for, first, we have 3 expressions here. We have 3 parts. We have the ID, and we have the variable, and then we have this quotation marks. So we will use a concat. A concat, simply just take 3 elements, put them together in right after each other, and that is exactly what we want to do here. So, and you can do it with 2 elements, we do it with 3. So the first one that will go in here in these single quotation marks, then we'll have a comma. This one will be our row, I just write it row lookup variable. And finally, we will have the quotation mark. So what we will do here, we have the quotation mark in the last part. That will be like this. So single quotation marks and then the quotation marks in it. The first part, that is really everything you see here. So right before the actual number, and that goes in here. So single quotation mark, and then we'll just have the expression that is ID, colon, quotation mark, and then we will have the actual single quotation mark. Now we just need to have our variable. Our variable we can just refer to by saying variables, and then in parentheses we will have the name of it. We call ours row lookup. It will look like this. So this is what we're trying to look for. So again, we can just use this expression up here, because what we're trying to look in is the exact same things. The last part just changed. So I copy this and paste it in here. Now let me grab all this here, and then I move down here. I delete everything except the comma and the parentheses, and then I just Control V, paste this one in. So this is our very long expression, but I hope you understood what we're trying to do. Now go copy it. Then move over here, and instead of this expression, we can delete this. We go to the expression, Control V, paste it in, and go see that we actually, this is actually the expression that we're trying to do. So right now we look in this variable. Of course, this will give us a true, and this one will be true. We will try to error check it right after. So run the flow. And I love making these and see everything work. It's so satisfying. Now go to condition. Here you can see that this is true. That is because the variable had the value of 2. Now let us try to make it bulletproof. So we can say 12 or whatever other number that doesn't exist up here. So I'll say test. I'll do this. And now you'll see that this condition is false. We're not trying to do the lookup. So that is how you're error handling it. You can see it's false. This action is not getting done. So some very advanced stuff, and we will move on. But first, let's clean a bit up before we do the multiple sheets solution. Oh, let me just delete this JSON here. And I think we will be creating a new flow. So what you will do here is to go to My Flows. Go to Create Flows, and then you will choose an instant cloud flow again. Here I will call this multiple sheets solution, and I'll choose to manually trigger my flow. I'll click Create. Let's talk a bit about the strategy here, because we have our data. We want to update each one of this: January, February, March, April. So we want to get all the tables first. Then we will loop through the tables and do a bit like we did here. So our strategy is to get all the tables first. We loop through these tables, and then we do almost like before, just a little bit more advanced. I will show you. So here we have it. What I want to do is to click New Step, and then I'll have a Get Tables. I'll choose this one here. Where do I want to get my tables from? Well, again, OneDrive for Business. OneDrive, and then pick my file. So this is Fruit Shop data. So I can try to click Save here. And again, this is the clean solution. We started all over. So now I will test it just to see that I can get all the tables. Remember, the data needs to be formatted as a table, otherwise we can't see it. And here you will have all the table. You can see that we have January here. We have February here in the value, and so forth. So, and I can show you the raw outputs. It's over here. This is also in a JSON format. What we want to do here, and let us, we can actually just copy it, go to our beautifier again, and paste it in here, just so we have it. Here we can see that in the value we have 12 items, and that corresponds to the January, February, March, and so forth. Now we want to iterate to each one of these tables. So what we want to do here is to go over here, and we'll click Edit. So we will choose and apply to each. That is because we are taking the tables one by one. So I'll take a new step. I'll find and apply to each. And apply to each just iterates through each value. And here, what do we try to iterate through? Let's go back here. That is this value, because in the value we have our 12 items. So I go here, I go and apply to each, and then I will choose the value from the get tables, like this. So now let's try to inspect what's actually coming out of this apply to each table data. So I will just do a compose, and this is just to inspect what kind of data that we're working with. I'll do a compose. And inside here, I'll just be taking the table data, sorry. So I will be saying, let me get this table name here. So I will be doing this, and I'll click this save here, and I'll manually be triggering my flow. So now in this apply to each, I will be getting each one of the table names, and I can go in here. You can see January, February, March, April name, and that is because we take this apply to each and we go into the actual name here. So that is this one we're trying to get out, and this is what we're trying to do now. We will just do a list rows present in the table, and then we will look up this name here. So for each one of these, we will be looking we will list rows present in the table, and the way we do this is just to edit it here. And here you can see if I hover my mouse over, to get this, we use the items, apply to each, and then in the name. This is what we're trying to accomplish now. And what I will do here is click these 3 dots, cheat code, and cheat again. It's not cheat, it's just the way we do it. So copy the expression here. You're more than welcome to write it yourself. I just prefer not to do it. So then I click delete. So in here, we will have a list rows present in the table. So list rows present in the table. The location, that is the OneDrive for Business. Then the document library, that is OneDrive. The file, well, that is this live here. And it's here. Then the table. And here we will be, since we are iterating to each of these tables, we cannot use these tables here. We will have a custom value. And that is because we want to grab the table where we add it in at the iteration. So it's very important that you click the custom. Then you go to the expression, Control V, paste this one in, click OK, and do this. So now we can work with it. So because we have the expression, and then let's just see that we can actually, for each one of the months, that we can get the rows out. So I click save, I click test, and we try to run it. So now for each one of the 12 months, we should be able to retrieve the rows in all 12 tables. And if I go in here, you can see that we have the 12. If I click here, this is for January. And here we had 4 items. We had the 1 apple, 2 orange, 3 banana, and we had the watermelon that we added. And I can go up here. Then we have the February. So here we have the apple, the orange, and the banana. And this will continue for all of these months. So now we can work with each row in these tables. And again, I know that that is actually it can be a little bit confusing, but it's really not. What I want to do here is actually, because we have an apply to each, and this is the apply to each table, and I really want to rename this, and we also need to rename this, and this is because we have another apply to each. So best practice is always to rename your activities so you can see what's going on. So I just say apply to each, and then I will say apply to each tables. And here, and this is because we are iterating through each one of the rows afterwards. So, and I also need to fix it down here. So apply to each, and then I'll say table. Now mark everything, Control C before you update, because sometimes it doesn't update. Now you can see it didn't update. Then we'll delete it. Expression, Control V, click OK twice, and you'll see that it got in here. Now we have the apply to each table. So it's the same we did. We just named this apply to each. So we actually told Power Automate what we are doing here. So now we will get we have the rows here. And now what we want to do is simply just that we want to update a row. And let me just actually run it once more. Like this, and then we will inspect the actual result. So we have the list rows present in the table, and then we will have another apply to each, where we will say for each one of these rows, and that is for each one of these 12 runs, then we will be iterating to each row, and then we can start to update something. So here you can see we have it. So I just click edit here. So for each table, and that is each one of those 12 tables, we get the list rows present in a table. And we will also be having an apply to each. And here we will be getting the value from this list rows present in the table. Just try to do it. It can be a little bit hard to get your head against. So here I'll find an apply to each. Here. Rename this to apply to each row. Then we will make sure you take the value from the list rows present in the table. This is the exact same thing as we did before. So let us just try to see what data that will actually come out of this. So I'll just add an action here and I'll do a compose. And here I will take the current item. So let me just scroll a little bit down. So the current item of the apply to each row. So save it, try to run it, and then inspect what comes out of the compose. And this one is each one of the rows. We want to work with this. And it's just to see, sometimes it's easier just to see what comes out. This has been a quite long lesson, so it's also to make sure that we understood everything. And this one will take a few seconds, and then we will have it here. So meanwhile, what you can do, sometimes it will just take a long time, then you can stop and start it again. Now it's finished. So if I go in here and if I go into the compose, we can see that for the first table, we have 4 entries in. So this is the 1 out of 12, and that is exactly what we expected. Because, and you can see here, we actually have all the things that we want. We have the ID 1, the apple, sales store 1, the sales store 2. Now we can do the calculation for each one of these here. And this is just to say for each one of these rows, we want to update a row just as we did before. It will get a little bit more advanced what we're doing here, but it's not really that complicated. Just delete this compose, and in here apply to each row. This is what we're doing for each one of the rows to the list rows present in the table. Take add an action, and here you will have an update a row from the Excel online. So again, the location is OneDrive for Business. The document library is OneDrive. The file is, let me get into my subfolder, is this. And then the table, that is where we will say the apply to items, the apply to each table, and then the name. So here we will have instead of all this, we will have a custom value. And since we actually made this one, we made this expression, we had it here, we will just be clicking here, and then let me just copy it from here. So this is what we're trying to do. This is the table name that we're trying to update. That is the current table. So if I go down here, and again, I will just do this, and then I'll enter custom value, and this will be the actual expression. So I'll be doing this. It will say that we have a fail, but it's not. So, and then we will have the two, it will have a key column and a key value. So the key column, that will be the ID. And here, when I click this drop down, we could not retrieve any value. And that is because this expression. So here we will just hard code in ID as custom value. Then where do we try to find this ID? And that is in the apply to each row ID. We just saw that. So here we will be writing the expression that we want to look in this apply to each row. So that will be the items. And then we will say apply to each row and a single quotation marks one more. Then we want to say, get me the ID of this. So it will look like this. Again, make sure you copy everything. So copy this because sometimes it will disappear again. So now we have it here. So the items apply to each row ID. Then we need to provide the items properties. And this one is going to be a JSON. And here it can be a little bit harder to get your head what we're actually doing here. So again, make sure you pay close attention. This is the last part, then everything will work. So a JSON format, maybe we can just specify how a JSON looks like, and I think we should do it here. And let me just JSON for the item properties. So a JSON look like this. Curly bracket in the start and in the end, and then we have key value pairs. Since we're trying to update the 3 columns, it will look like this. So in we can have in quotation marks, I'll have the column name 1, and this is just whatever is in the column name 1. Then we'll have, and then we'll say value 1. And again, this will be, for example, for the total sales, the value 1 will be the expression for total sales. And then comma separated. And since we're lazy, let me just copy this row here, paste it in here. So then we'll have the column name 2 with the value 2. We're trying to update 3 columns here, so there will be 3. So I'll say 3. So these ones are key value pairs. Remember to delete the last comma. This is how it's going to look. But and we will just use this in the item properties, but we'll first need to make the expression. First we will say, what columns do we need to update? Here I want to update the total sales. I also want to update the profit and then the estimated yearly profit. Like this. Then we just need our expression. We already made those. So what's easy is here is that we can create the expression, but since this is a combination of hard-coded values and then expressions, I'll just copy it here from a Notepad. So Control-C, then I'll go back here. Here, you just need to go into provide the item properties and paste it in here. Now we will, instead of the value 1, we will make an expression. And the value 1, the total sales, we already had an expression for this. We found that one out in the actual first part of the video. So just copy it from up here. Sales store 1 plus sales store 2, total sales. It will be the exact same things. Except that we now we need to say apply to each row. So what we actually will do here is that, but it's almost the same. We just need to add the row after the apply to each. It's that I want to go down here. And here I just want to say apply to each underscore row and each underscore row here. The other part will be the same. So now we have an expression for the total sales. And what I will do here is that I will delete the value 1. This was actually just a placeholder again. Then I'll go to my expression, Control V. We'll say invalid, but we will add it here. So now we have the total sales. We also want for the profit. And again, we had that already. So move it a little bit down. The profit, that was here. Make sure you copy everything and then move down here, paste it in. So we'll just need to make sure that we have the apply to each row. Make sure you do it everywhere. So that was twice. And apply to each row here. That's it. Now we can copy it over. So I'll copy this expression over again. And this is the expression for profit. And we will, now you can see that I accidentally deleted the last curly brackets. Sometimes it can, and here, for some reason, it just, whenever I delete everything here, it just delete the last part. So what I will do here sometimes is just save it and then try to edit it afterwards. So right now I can go up here and edit it. Sometimes happens. So the profit, that will also be an expression. I made that like this. Then we want the estimated yearly profit. And that is in here. We also had an expression for this. So let me just copy, maybe just do this. And again, it can seem a bit difficult, but it's really not. You will get, this is not rocket science. You will get your head around this. You can just copy everything we do here. So now we are saying apply to each row, apply to each row, apply to each row. This is the estimated yearly profit. We made an expression for this. So I just copy it out. Make sure I go up here. Go into the expression, do this. There you go. So now we created a solution that will update each one of these tables. We already updated in January, but it will also update the February, March, April, May. Shouldn't we kick it off and see that it actually works? So what I will do here is that I will test. I will run the flow and we will lean back and hopefully we will see that everything is in nice order. This is so nice to actually, it's like having the last integer in Sudoku. I really enjoy, truly enjoy making these. So if you have any kind of trouble with this, please let me know. We can fix it for you. Now my flow is running. It will take a little while because we need to update each sheet, but this is a fully customizable solution. And this is the way you will do it when you want to update multiple sheets. We will need to refer to the tables with expressions instead of these dropdowns. And it's simply just the way we do it. My flow ran successfully. Now let's go to our data. So here we have the January, we have the February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. Clap yourself on your shoulder. If you did this, you truly are an advanced Power Automate developer. Now let's introduce an even more advanced concept, but it's still straightforward. Just do the steps and you will find that it's very easy. So here in the Office Scripts one, I now have some data where it's not formatted as a table, and I want to make this the same thing as I did before. So I want to iterate to Office Script 1, 2, and 3. I can do this smarter than before. I can do this with less effort. Not to say that this solution is not good. You should understand both of them, but we can do this really, really clever. So let's just take the Office Scripts one. What I want to do is to go to Automate. Now we will introduce Office Scripts. It's VBA on steroids. Office Script can automate everything you do in the Excel. It can record your actions. It will get translated into TypeScript, which is a superset of JavaScript. And then we can use it just like a VBA macro for the Excel desktop. Then this Office Scripts are automated code for Excel Online. This will be the future. So please take some minutes to understand this. It will really take your Power Automate cloud to the next level. So what I want to do is that I want to record a script. So I can record actions. And here I can find all previous scripts. Those ones are shared between all your Excel workbooks. So you can always call them. And the clever part is that we can create these scripts. And then we will call these scripts from Power Automate. Very easy. So what I will do here is that I will record actions. Then you can see I'm recording. The first thing is that maybe I want to format this a little bit better. So I can mark everything here. And I go to Home and make it the bold headers. Now you can see that the recorded actions are bold A1 to A2. And I also want to say the total sales, that equals to this one plus this one. And then I can click Enter. You can see that we edited E2, but we also want to drag down here. So we are doing the entire range. And the profit, that one is equal to Sales Store 1 plus Sales Store 2. And then we can say minus the cost. Again, I drag down. This is as simply as it gets. So now the estimated, again, equals to, and here we'll have a parenthesis since we are saying this one plus this one, minus the cost, and then we will multiply it by 12. So I can just drag this one down here. Now we have our data, and you can see the best part is that we have some code. So we could also do some conditional formatting. Let's say that we want to color these things. If the estimated is less than 150,000, we want to color it red. And if it's above 200,000, we want to color it green. You can see that we're still recording. So what we just do is that we just go over here and we can just mark this. Then I can go to Home, Conditional Formatting, and here I can, under the highlight cell rules, then I can just say less than. You can see the range, that is H2 to H4, fine. So if it's less than, and we say 150,000, this is just caviar on our solution, but it's really nice to see. Then we want to have the fill color, we want to have it red. The font, let's just pick it black. Here it's easy that you don't, it's important that you don't take automatic. Then you will have a null value. This will not work. So pick a color. I'll pick black. So it will look like this, and I can click done. So now you can see that it's actually colored this one here. That's because we are recording what we're doing, just like we got the bold up here. So we want to add another conditional formatting. We can either do it over here, or we can just click conditional formatting again and choose the greater than. So if it's greater than 200,000, it's at 200, then we want to color it green. So what we will do here is that we can either do it with this, or we could do it with code, but we will just be having this green here, and we will have the black here. I'll click done. So now we have two rules, and we are coloring in here. So straightforward. Now what you will do is to go up here into the record actions. You'll click stop. This one is translated into code, and here you can see that it's called script 1. The first thing I'll do is to click these three dots, click rename. Here I'll call this one a name that I can easily remember. So this will be Fruit Shop Calc, and click enter. I can also inspect the code. So here, this is the TypeScript that's actually needed for these things to happen. And let me just do this one here. I'll move the bold. I'll delete total sales, and I'll mark this. Right click, delete, shift cells up. That's fine. So I deleted everything. And the smart part here is that I can just run the script. So if I click run here, you will see that my script ran and it automatically filled everything in. So far, so good. But we can also see that this script will have to run the script for each one of these sheets that we want to update. What if we just took in some input? And we can do that by saying we can have the active sheet as an ingoing argument. And again, let me just delete the data here so we can actually see that this will work in a little while. And this is, we're going to optimize this for a Power Automate solution. So I'll click edit here. And here is all this. You can add the conditional formatting. You can change the colors down here. You can see that this one here is, this is the green one. This is the hex code for the green. And you can see the range that was 200,000. So this is what's needed for calling it green. This one up here is red. And up here we had the calculations. So what we're going to do here is that we're trying to add, what we will add here is that we will add an ingoing argument. We will do that up here in the Excel script workbook. And here you'll just need to know a little bit of code, but just do it with me. You will learn so much when you just watch these videos and then just copy what we do here, because that will introduce you to all the things that you'll need. So I'll give it a name. I will call this active sheet. This is just a name that I'll give it. Then I'll say I'll let this be a string like this. Then I'll also say let the selected sheet, and here I'll say right now it's just the active sheet. It will just, this script will just run on the active sheet. So if we call it from Power Automate now, it will run on the active sheet. what we will do here is that we will not get the active sheet. We will get a worksheet, and then we will use whatever value we provided up here in the active sheet. So here I'll just say the active sheet. I'll use this. So now I will click Save Script. That's important. And now I'll be giving an input that is called the active sheet. I'll be doing that in Power Automate, and let me show you. So I'll go here, I'll click Create, I'll choose an instant cloud flow, and here I'll call this Office Scripts. I'll be manually triggered my flow. I'll click Create. So what I will do here is that I'll get all worksheets starting with Office Scripts, because those ones are the three that I want to update. And I can close this now. It will be these Office Scripts, and let me just close this. These ones are saved into my Excel instance now. It's, by the way, if you go to your OneDrive, My Files, then you go to Documents, you can find them in Office Scripts. You can see mine is here. And this one is the one that we're using. So for now, I'll be getting all the worksheets. I'll apply a condition. So first one, I'll just be getting the worksheets. Oh, I'll be having this one here. So get worksheets. And here I'll be pointing to my Excel book. So, and I don't want to update all the ones that we already updated. So we'll need to make some sort of a condition. But let's do it just step by step. Let's try to test this. Continue this. Run the flow. And in a little while, you'll see that we get all the worksheets from this book. So if I click here, you can see that we have the one that is January. And in the end, we have the actual Office Scripts 2, 1, 2, and 3. So now, what I will do here is that I will say I want each one of these worksheet, and then I'll apply a condition to it. So I will have an apply to each. I'll take all these one by one, just as we're used to. Apply to each. I'll take the value from up here. So find the value here. And then I'll say if these sheets with their names, if they start with Office Scripts, then I want to run this Office script that I just created, and it will look like this. So choose an operation, and here I'll have the condition here. And what we will do here is that we will say the condition, and that is if our name starts with, and let me just find the worksheet name here. I'll just say if this one starts with, and then I can say Office Scripts. You can of course make your condition or take everything. If we just had sheets that we wanted to update, we could of course just do it. But now we're making condition to narrow it down to only update these 3 sheets. So I'll say if the name starts with Office Scripts, then over here I will run that Office Scripts on it. So I'll take add an action. I'll take run script. And here I'll say the location, OneDrive for Business, the document library, that is OneDrive, the file, that will be, we will find it up here, and then my script, that is called Fruit Shop Calc. Since, we took one, we want to say what sheet do I want to actually update. And we have that sheet name up here. That is this very name here. So this is the ingoing argument. So now we can actually update this. So I just say I want to update the name. That's the worksheet name. We know that this starts with the Office script, so we are updating the right things. Now just click Save, click Test, and we will run it. And this is so powerful. I will be preparing a lesson just on Office scripts for Power Automate, so make sure you subscribe to the channel to get information when I release this. So now we are running it, and this will succeed in a little while. And sometimes the API, the Power Automate API to the Excel can take a little bit longer. And what I recommend here is simply just to edit, start and stop it when you develop, when you don't want to sit around and, okay, it took 35 seconds, that is fine. So if I go here, you can see Office Scripts 1 has been updated, Office Script 2 has been updated, and the 3. Isn't that nice? I prepared the next advanced Power Automate lesson for you. Just click it and become a master Power Automate developer.